All right, welcome back. This is the third of three citation videos for Mrs. Mayo's American Lit class for your research paper. In this video, we're going to cover how to cite contemporary authors because it's slightly different than some of the other databases. We'll also look at a YouTube video and a Twitter post in case either of those come up for you. So some of you may not have these sources or may not be using contemporary authors, and you may not need to watch this video. Others of you may find this useful, so I wanted to give you a chance to walk through it. To begin with, I'm here in contemporary authors, and I am going to cite this page. Now, remember, contemporary authors is in Power Library. There's only one article for each author. So if you find an article in there, then that's kind of it. Why this might be useful is there's a little bit of not just biography in here, but also there is a little bit of literary criticism too, especially in these what they call the sidelights essays. So we some of you may need to cite them. We're going to go into Noodle Tools, and what we're looking at here, we'll go to sources and new source. And we know it's a database. I've mentioned it's a database just from the offset. So we're going to go ahead and choose database. What makes this one a little bit different is that unlike some of the other databases, you can't automatically send the citation out and just export it right to Noodle Tools. You have to go back and actually do this one kind of like we would a website, but just like it, fill in the blanks. This is original content in a database too. That's a little unusual. A lot of the databases we use, we're not citing original content. That is, that it was not written for the database specifically, but in this case, it was. So we'll begin with the name of the database, which is contemporary authors, or it comes up as contemporary authors online, which is fine. Database publisher or vendor. I'll jump back here. So we've got the info here at the top as far as the title, but down at the very, very bottom, we have a little bit of the information that we need. And what this does tell us is that this is from Gale Cengage. That's our publisher. Gale is the like kind of a shortened version of that. You could put Cengage, but it looks like they just have it shortened to Gale. So then date of publication, again, we're going to find that at the very bottom. Looks like this one was 2009. And again, they have their own short citation here. This actually is incorrect as far as for MLA purposes, but it's just only a tiny bit. It's just because they don't have the URL, and it's an old MLA version, but ours will look very short like that also. So here's 2009. All right, we'll put the URL in there. And the date of access. You can just hit today, whatever day it is that you happen to be citing it. So that takes care of the database information. Then we scroll down and we have to actually put in what the original content is. Now, first, it's good to know there is no author. They don't, because it's kind of published by the corporation, by the Gale company, they just don't give credit to any one individual. These are a whole bunch of just individual essays that have been compiled. So there's nothing to put under the author's name. All we need is the article title. And the article title, well, there isn't really a clear article title. You've got contemporary authors, so the title is simply the author's name and then their birth and death date. Now, some of them, of course, if they're still living, they will not have a death date, and that is fine for citation purposes, not something you would need to worry about. So I just took that title, typed it right in there. Now I can save the citation, and our citation for contemporary authors is done. It's down here. Let's see if I can. There you go. So the article was titled Shirley Jackson, 1919 to 1965. It was on Contemporary Authors Online, which was published by Gale in 2009. And we found it at this URL on March 19th. So if you do need to cite contemporary authors, you can just use that as a format, as a guide. Another type of citation that comes up sometimes is a YouTube video. There are some interesting sources on YouTube. I would, like anything on the web, definitely consider credibility. You don't want just like some random person's opinion on Shirley Jackson from YouTube, and the same will go for when we talk about Twitter. You're still looking for some type of credentials that makes whoever it might be that is sharing information an expert. So um, we'll begin first by getting the format. So here we are, and it's a website. YouTube is a website, and we're citing a video clip online. This gives us the format we need. I chose a video clip. I'll actually click and open it. So why did I choose this one and not just one of the other random ones? Well, partly because the speaker in this video is someone who has written an entire book about Shirley Jackson, and I can look up her sort of expertise on Shirley Jackson, find she's a published author, find that this book is something I could purchase. So if I wanted to quote her or use something from her, I know that she at least has the background in studying literature to be able to give us some information about Shirley Jackson. So I'll jump over and I'm going to go ahead and copy the URL meanwhile, and I'll close this so I don't keep clicking on it. And we begin to fill in the blanks just like with everything else. So, okay, date posted October 29th or 21st, excuse me. And that is 2016. Again, date of access. Title of the video clip. We'll go back, and that's right there. So that's Ruth Franklin, Shirley Jackson, A Rather Haunted Life. That's the name of the book that she's published. So I'm watching that clip from that's about that. Name of the site and publisher of the site. I'll say maybe it's possible, perhaps you don't know that Google owns YouTube. So if you didn't know that or weren't sure, again, you go back, like with any website, you always check the bottom, see if there's any copyright stuff. But that doesn't really work with YouTube because it keeps just loading other things. So if you end up going to the home page and going to the very bottom, you can find it. There's also something right here. It's a little hidden, but we see the copyright Google LLC. So we understand that that is part of the citation. Let's see if I can get out of that. All right, so now I'll head back, and really maybe this is the most difficult part of the clip, is just finding out who actually hosted it or what their username is. So I'm going to go back there and see if I can find. It looks like I don't have an individual post, but it looks like it was posted by Politics and Prose, so I'm going to use that and include that. So this is just a group name and not an individual's name. You'll put it in where it says last name or group, and at that point, we have who it's posted by, and we have the rest of the info filled out. So we'll save the citation, and again, we'll double check it before we move on to the final one. So here we go. Ruth Franklin, Shirley Jackson, A Rather Haunted Life. It's available on YouTube. It was uploaded by Politics and Prose, owned by Google. It was published on the 21st of October in 2016, and there's the URL, and we accessed it on March 19th. All right, so that's a YouTube citation. Again, I don't think particularly complicated, but some different elements than what you would see in perhaps a journal or a book. We'll do one final citation. You can, and I guess I'll say here also, if you were to have something else that I didn't cover in any of these 3 videos, which is very possible, or you're having trouble, especially with websites where you can't find or figure out what something is, be sure just to reach out to me. You can always email me, and I can take a look at it. Just give me a day or so to respond, but I usually can get back to you within a day. So the last item here is a Twitter posting. And I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do for this is I have to go back to my dashboard. No, so here's the problem. With the sources that we have, we can't cite this without changing over to the advanced mode. So if you're not citing Twitter, you don't need to be in the advanced mode. It's not a big deal. But if you end up and you do have something off of Twitter, especially this would probably be most important if your author is still alive and you look through their tweets to look for some quotes from your author directly. I think that can be a really useful way to do research sometimes, just reading what your author actually has put out there. And maybe you'll find something that's applicable to the purpose of your paper. So anyway, that means I have to go back to the projects page. I've got my American Lit research paper open right here. What I'm going to do is go over to options and change the level. So when I change the level, all I'm saying is I want more choices. Now I'm going to go to the advanced level. I'll hit submit, and I'll be in the advanced level now. I could always switch it back if I needed to at some point, or chose to, because I didn't want all of the choices anymore. That's definitely something you can do once you're finished with the citation, or you can just leave it on the advanced. I'm going to jump now to sources, and we're going to cite a new source. And when we cite a new source, you're going to see, again, Twitter's a website, but you're going to see so many more choices. I mean, before we only had about, a fifth of those, and now there's a lot more. So microblog, tweet, status update, and we're going to cite that using this format. We'll jump over here to, there are a lot of different authors or people that you can kind of relate to or write about or quote. I mean, I searched Shirley Jackson. One of the issues kind of with Shirley Jackson is, of course, she is not currently, and has not been, she is not on Twitter. So it leaves us with sort of a problem about, like, what do we exactly, how do we know that we are citing something worth citing, and how can we sort of rely on whoever it might be that is writing the information, rather than use Shirley Jackson, because I don't particularly, I'm going to use a different author, and partly because I know this person is currently writing, has written and published a lot of books. I'm not saying any of you would necessarily use this writer, but at the same time, this is an example of someone who's currently putting out posts and will work well for our purposes, for example purposes. So if I wanted to quote Jason Reynolds, I click on the tweet, and everything I need to know is right here. One of the nice things about citing tweets really is that the info is all just sort of laid out for what you need right in front of you. And that includes the author's name, their handle or their username, and the text of the tweet, and the date and time that it was posted. So we're going to jump back over, and I'll grab this URL. Date of the post is March 19th. '21. Time of post is 9:38 a.m. And username. So notice username goes first. And then we have the, if assuming that you actually have the person's full name there, then you're able to type that in. Text of posts, he simply wrote big. Whatever the text is, you'll include that there. And then which site did it come from? They have Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook all listed here, so you would use it for any of those. And type of post, you can check that back, but just looks like a see what our choices are there, but photograph, tweet. And that's about it. So we'll go ahead and save that citation. And we've got at Jason Reynolds 83, written by Jason Reynolds. His quote says, "Big." It was written on Twitter, March 19th, 2021, 9:38 a.m. And there is the link to it. All right. So again, only if you need that, but the post for some of the social media that if you do end up using some of that, make sure to use Noodle Tools as a guide. It'll help you to get to where you need. One last item is the idea of how do you actually get all of this together. So let's say now I've got a bunch of different citations here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different citations, and I want to put them all into a document. All you have to do is go up here and print and export to Google Docs. When you do that, it takes a moment to load, but what it will do here in just a second is format your entire works cited page. What's great about this is on this page right now, there are a lot of formatting decisions being made for you that any person could really mess up if they weren't very, very careful. You could see here, all the names need to be in alphabetical order. And you can see here that is the case. We've got to have 1-inch margins. Everything needs to be double spaced. You need to have a hanging indent. The title needs to say works cited, just like this. You need to have the page number up in the corner, which is actually one of the things you may need to fix. Partly because you need to add your name right before the number, and we're going to assume that your works cited isn't the first page of your paper, but probably the last. So let's say you had a 5-page long paper, and then your 6th page was the works cited page. You would just alter that, and then you're done. You can print your works cited out. So this is something you'll probably do near the end of your project or as you're getting close to finishing up, unless you have to, if you need to share it earlier or you want to give it to Mrs. Mayo. So if you have any trouble with any of those parts, again, just reach out to me and email. That'll conclude the 3 separate parts, but of course, go back and check any as you're citing if you feel like you want to verify some of the information that you're typing in. And yeah, good luck with your paper. And as I said, if I can help you, just let me know.